guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm doing a product review today. This is a new palette that I have added to my collection. It's been about a month now since it released, and I have been using it since it released because I did order it on the release date. This is the Anastasia Soft Glam palette. So if you guys don't know, I am a fan of Anastasia's shadows to begin with. I did review her Subculture palette, and that had a lot of controversy around it. I do have her Modern Renaissance palette, which I do enjoy. I don't know if I did a review on that. I have to look back in my history. But this is the most recent palette, her Soft Glam palette, and I have to say that it is probably my next favorite to the Renaissance palette. So these shadows, you get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 shadows, similar to her Subculture and her Modern Renaissance. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mattes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shimmers. They are very I'm actually wearing it today, if you guys don't already know or can't already tell. I'm wearing the palette today. So Soft Glam is for those of you who don't want, you know, a very bang eyeshadow look. You can get soft looks with this, but you could also deepen them up with these two shades here and even this shade over here. So if you do want that smoky eye look, you can definitely get that out of this particular palette, but majority of this palette does cater to more softer looks. So if you are more of a bam in your face, this might not be for you because these are more softer shades. Colors, if you will. I find that the shimmers are best used with your finger to apply to your lid. That's always been the case with Anastasia shadows when it comes to shimmery shadows. I find that the best way to apply them is with your finger because the warmth of your finger warms up the product and it really helps melt it into the skin. The matte shadows are quite powdery, not as powdery as the Subculture palette, but they do still give a little kick up. So what I would suggest is just go easy. Again, not as bad as the Subculture palette, but there is a little bit of kick up when it comes to the matte shades. And for me, I don't mind that because they're very pigmented, they're easy to blend. Like, I just find that it's so easy to use this palette. I can do looks very simple, very quick, 2-minute looks, and you know, I look put together. So I do love this palette. It comes with a brush, which I'm not really a fan of. I kind of usually just take the brush out. Comes with a mirror. It's got the soft velvety packaging, which again, the velvety packaging I'm not really a fan of, but you know, it is what it is. It does get dirty a little bit easily with the velvet exterior. But I don't know if you guys can tell, I have used this quite a bit in the actual month of March, and I have been really loving this for every day. This has been my everyday go-to palette now since I got it, and I have not gone to any other palette since. I find that these are very easy colors to work with my particular skin tone in particularly. I'm sure that any skin tone you are, these will jive well. These shades are more neutralized than the Subculture and the Modern Renaissance. The Modern Renaissance pulls more red tones. This is more neutralized for, you know, pink and olive undertones. So, personally for me, I really do love this. I do like how the shimmers apply to the lid. You can use a brush with the shimmers if you really wanted to, but for me personally, I just like using my finger. I'm very easygoing that way. If you do use a brush, I would use a flat, dense shader brush for the shimmers. That will give you more payoff in pigment when you do apply it to your lid. And you can use them wet if you want. Personally for me, I don't need to use these wet, the shimmers. I find that like on their own, they're quite stand out, so I don't really, unless I really want to do like a nighttime type of look, which even if I do a nighttime type of look with this palette, I have options to deepen up my crease, and you know, I can do day or night with this. You know, I gotta say, you know, a lot of people are controversy to Anastasia's palettes um, depending on the palette that you are talking about. I know that when Narvina came out with this one, she did mention that this palette was more on the lines of the formula to the Modern Renaissance palette, because the Modern Renaissance palette formula was better received than the Subculture one. So you will notice that when you use this palette, it does play similar to the Modern Renaissance palette's formula. So very similar, if not identical formulation when it comes to the shimmers and the matte shadows. I have to say I agree with that statement, because I found when I was using this, the formulation did remind me a lot of the Modern Renaissance formulation. It was easier to work with compared to the Subculture palette. Subculture palette is very, very tricky to deal with if you don't have the patience, or you just don't have the want to learn how to deal with that type of formulation. It's just not going to work for you. But this one, I just find it's so much easier, very comparable to Modern Renaissance formulation. Colors are different than than the Modern Renaissance palette, but they are a softer color scheme, hence the name Soft Glam. So if you're looking for a glam but you don't want to be too bold, this is the perfect palette for you. You do get a matte black to deepen up any look that you do, or just do your eyeliner with it. And you do get like a deep burgundy color as well, as well as Cypress Umber, which is like a deep brown. So you have options to deepen up any look that you decide to do with the rest of the shadows here. Personally, for me, my favorites have been Burnt Orange, Sienna, Fairy, Glistening, and Orange Soda. Those have been my top, and then Rose Pink as well. Rose Pink is a great everyday lid shade as well. What I will say is Burnt Orange, Sienna, Orange Soda, and Cypress Umber are repeated eyeshadows that I've seen in previous palettes from Anastasia. And if I'm not mistaken, they do have them in single pan form. So, I mean, granted, there might be some duplication of shadows in here that you may already have from other Anastasia palettes, but I just find that the way that this palette is designed and the way the colors work with each other are very easy peasy. You don't have to think about it. You can come up with any look, throw it together, and not have to really think about it as if you would have to think about it when you worked with Subculture palette. So I have to say, yes, I know that there are repeated shadows in here from other Anastasia palettes, but I feel that even so, I find that the design of this palette is just so easy to work with that I would be able to, you know, put this in my travel kit, and that's all I need for going on a vacation or going away for the weekend or something like that. So I will give that a thumbs up. I really do like this. It's on the back, it says an everyday to night palette. So, you know, you can play it up for the daytime, and then you can deepen it with colors in and around this area for night. So you can take it from day to night and no problem. And that's why I think it's so easy and versatile to use for traveling, because you would only need this palette. Now, the only thing I have to say about this palette that I'm kind of disappointed in is that it doesn't have a cream matte shadow. The light colors like Tempera is like a satiny finish, and obviously Glistening and Fairy are shimmers. So there's not like a bone shade matte shadow in here, which is kind of a bummer, because the bone matte shadow I like to set my eye primer with, and I just don't have it in here. So that's the only thing that it's missing in this palette. I mean, I could do without that. I have others I could pull, like single shadows I can pull for that particular reason, or I can use my face powder to set my eye primer, but it just would have been nice to have one in here as a a complete palette for me. That's what it would make a complete palette for me, is just that bone matte shadow in here, and then I'm good to go for any look, day or night, that kind of stuff. You can still get away with doing a day to night look with this palette. For me, you know, I pick apart stuff all the time, and I just find that Anastasia now has been in the market for quite a while, for years, and I'm surprised that, you know, Norvina wouldn't put a bone shadow matte color in here, especially if a lot of people use it to set their eye primers. And, you know, not everyone uses eye primer, I get it, but majority of us, I would think, do, because, you know, there are a few of us out there that do have oily lids, especially in the summertime when it's too hot, you know. Whether it's all year round, you need to use an eye primer. I use an eye primer all year round, regardless of the time of year. And it just would have been nice to have a matte bone shade in here to set that primer with. But aside from that, I still like the palette. I've been using it every time I do my makeup, every time I use shadow. I'm still wearing it all the time. It's something that I just gravitate towards right away. I don't even think about it. It is a definite thumbs up for me. I think it goes for about 50 bucks Canadian, maybe 55, can't really remember. But it's quite affordable. I mean, a little more affordable than your Natasha Denona's, your NARS, even your Too Faced that run $60 or over $60. So Anastasia Soft Glam, thumbs up. You know, I would honestly, not that I don't want to swatch this for you, I would, but there's tons of people out there who have done the swatch videos. You guys can see them. I'm just here to give you my opinion based on how I tried it for my skin tone. I do love it. I enjoy it. I'm wearing it. You can tell how it comes up on my skin. And keep in mind, I've been wearing this now for about 6 hours, and, you know, the colors are still running very pigmented. So I have to say the longevity is great, the pigmentation is great, the application is great. I cannot complain about that. The packaging is fine. I don't really love the velvet, but I can get past that because the product inside is very nice to use. So that is my final answer and official thoughts on the Anastasia Soft Glam. So I hope you guys loved this, and if you did like it, give it a thumbs up. I will see you guys in my next video, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not, for more videos to come. I love you guys. Bye. Mwah.